item number 9. Torrance County Juvenile Justice Board request for vehicle.
I presented you with a letter of request, and I apologize, Commissioner Freiberger. I understand there was a typo in it, and you were Commissioner Freiberg. So I hope you liked it. But
I've been called worse.
Anyway, the Juvenile Justice Board is requesting that you consider the allocation of use of the vehicle. We are not asking for ownership, but of use of the vehicle when the youth center is operational. We will have a need to transport the youth who are either at risk or already involved in the juvenile justice system from the school sites to the center and back. And we believe that that would be a wonderful use for the vehicle. It would make the services of the center available to students from all parts of the county, Mountaineer, or the three major school districts, Mountaineer, Moriarty, Edgewood, and Estancia as well. And as you know, whenever we have activities or opportunities for education or some out-of-school participation in programs, we are always hampered by transportation. It really deprives access to those youth in the county, or adults for that matter, who do not have availability of outside transportation to get them to the site where services and programs are being provided. So we are asking that you consider this allocation. Since then, I've also been approached by Billy Clark, the program director for TOP, and this is not in the letter, it's come up recently, but I would ask that you consider it. TOP struggles with exactly the same problem. We have a lot of youth that are served through the Estancia School District that aren't able to stay for TOP. It's an after-school activity, the Teen Outreach Program, which is a youth leadership program. They aren't able to stay because they don't have transportation to get them back to their home. So if we had access to use of that vehicle just on the days that TOP is needing to, that there's a group in the McIntosh area that would be interested in attending. We know for sure because they've expressed that interest too. To just transport them back to the home, or if we're doing a community service activity that would be available outside of Estancia proper to transport the group to the activity and back to the center. We would appreciate that. But the immediate request that I'm asking you to consider is allocation of one of the vehicles to the juvenile justice youth programming as soon as that program becomes available.
Thank you, Pat. If I may just elaborate a little bit on the Teen Outreach Program. I used to work for that program, and there's two components to the program. One is service learning, where you do have to go out into your community and provide community service, and the other component is an educational component. And one of the things that, when I was there, things that we would do that would require transportation is we helped at the domestic violence shelter. We went and pulled weeds at the Mountain Air Senior Center. I think they've crushed cans before at the...
which generates a little revenue.
Yes, for their snacks. And so it's a way for them to give back and, get them to where they need to go to provide the community service. So I just wanted to elaborate on that. Thank you for your presentation, Pat. We're now at the table for discussion.
I have a couple questions. When do you have a date on when the program is going to be available?
We do do not. We have a couple of different things that will need to be discussed later in this meeting, I believe. One involving a potential permanent site for the service program. The other is that we are going to go look at some rental sites in the Estancia area tomorrow. You'd certainly be invited to go along with the strategic planning committee to house the programming for the immediate future. And depending upon when the funding becomes available, we probably are looking at July 1st. Potentially before then, if the board so determines that, but truthfully, my feeling is that the board will make the ultimate decision that July 1st gives enough time for a thorough planning on implementation, as well as how to move forward on siting for the program. And it will also allow us to continue to work with the school districts to make sure that our program, the tutoring portion of it, is compatible with their literacy program right now, as well as work out any details that will need to be cemented in the actual agreement to have the youth that would be sent to the center or referred to the center for out-of-school suspension services. So in fact, they are involved in educational activities and could also get credit for the time that they are out of school, and the school would in fact then be able to have credit for them being in school and not lose that revenue stream either. So I would say July 1st.
Okay, you said use of the vehicle, but not ownership. So explain that. Are you asking for us as the county then to maintain and keep it up and running, and you're just going to use it? It's going to be available to?
We would assume the operational costs of the vehicle as associated with the program. But the big issue would be the county retaining ownership of the vehicle, and also so it would remain in the insurance pool.
I have no question.
Commissioner Tapia asked one of the questions I was going to ask as far as, cost of it, cost of maintenance and everything like that. But, when several meetings back, when we approved, it was under my impression it would be a pilot program. And since then, I've done considerable research, and I believe in order to serve the county at its best, this is something that the pilot program and any type of building or anything, we're talking about Moriarty has anywhere from 50 to 75% more troubled youth than any other entity in the county. So why are we concentrating on Estancia and not where the problem actually lies?
The problems lie throughout the county. We need to be able to obtain long-term sustainable support, and one of the mechanisms to do that is going to be through some grant funding, obviously. We also will be approaching the other counties to ask for support in addition to what Torrance County has pledged. The best way for us to be able to obtain additional funding as we are moving along is to be able to show directly the results of the program. When I originally talked about the pilot program, I was talking about the tutoring portion of it. The reason that we want to take this slowly and do the pilot is because in working with the Estancia schools, we will be able to establish both a control group, excuse me, a control group of like children, age-wise, demographic composition, similar levels of school achievement, and compare the progress of the kids that are involved in the program and receiving that extra tutoring service to those who have not. So we establish our validity, and we also then establish that we have an effective, proven model. And that's what we need to really obtain grant funding. In terms of the program that we talked about for the older youth, that was never intended to be limited to Estancia. That's why we need the vehicle, because the design of that program is to be able to go to the schools in the morning. This would be upper, middle, and high school age kids. To be able to go to the schools in the morning, pick up those students who have been referred to us by the school as an alternative to out-of-school detention, bring them to the center if the school wishes to provide classroom work, then that would be an available option, and supervision and assistance would be available to those kids, and then transport them back to the school in the afternoon. We have always wanted to serve all three school districts with that portion of the program. We refer to it as a pilot because there's nothing that exists like that model in this area at this time. There really isn't much that exists like that model in truly rural areas of the state. And we are hoping that if we can successfully implement that model, that we will be able to then present that as a rural model, a juvenile justice model for Annie E. Casey and Kellogg Foundation, some of the larger funders that support this type of thing, and then be able to grow the program with more funding. But it is our intention from the get-go with that portion of the program to serve all the sections of the county.
I disagree with your thought on this, and the reason for that is, if we're looking at a bigger pool of youth, then to pull to where you could have comparisons, and I would think that you would look at the larger pool that you could get the kids from. And as far as busing the people, I would think it would be beneficial to the county to look at moving 50 kids a small distance than moving 10 kids a long distance. And so when we're looking at having to move those youth from Moriarty to Estancia versus Estancia to Moriarty, I think you could look at the cost difference to it and see that it would be beneficial to start the pilot program in Moriarty.
Hi, may I
This
respond?
isn't my decision, it's the board's decision, but I certainly am happy to carry your suggestions to the board and ask them to come and have this discussion with you at a future meeting.
I think if the county is going to assist in this, I think then the county should look at where the bigger problem is and concentrate on that.
Okay.
So I would say, you know, and as far as going back to the van, sometimes I scatter around. For the top program, I would have to say no on that, simply because if we start moving kids for different programs to one school, where's it going to stop at? And before long, we can't afford to send the elderly to hospital visits and different things. Now, we had to stop the bus program then. So now we're shifting it over to top programs and things like that. And I just don't think the county can benefit, or they could benefit, I just don't think they could afford it. I think it would come back and blow up in our face.
I think something else we need to consider, because we are looking at it going after all kinds of grant money, that those grants are not always going to be there. And so, yes, our goal is to sustain it, but we've already had programs in our county that were not able to be sustained. So I would just caution in going after grant money, because we can get all this up and running. And, I mean, the county can't help. I mean, we can only do so much, and we're not going to be able to come in and do the rest of it. Yes, hopefully the economy will go up and we'll, be on a better path than what we are now. But I would just caution to be going after so much grant money, because it's not a guarantee. So, and
It's not a sustainable guarantee.
Yes. Yes.
However, it's not the only money we intend to go after. As I stated before, it is our intention to approach Bernalillo County and Santa Fe County and ask for them to also support this program, since it is serving youth in all three.
And that also solidifies my thought for Moriarty being closer to Santa Fe County, the southern part of Santa Fe County and the eastern part of Bernalillo County.
Again, this was not my decision. It's
Yeah.
essentially, obviously, the larger service area in terms of geographical is Torrance County, which is substantially central to Torrance County. But again, this is a board decision, and so I am happy to take your concerns to the board and ask them to actually come to the meeting and talk to you themselves.
Yeah, thank you.
That would be my recommendation also, is to look at other facilities in Moriarty also, and not just these things.
Madam Chair, may I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
One, Torrance County did pledge $30,000 of the wind help money this year. Was that meant to be a one-time request or a recurring request?
We would hope that it would be recurring, but since you go through the PILT process every year, it's our assumption that we would need to come back and make that request, and hopefully we would have the track record to justify it.
If I may respond to some of the questions, since I am on this board, Commissioner Freiberger, I commend you for thinking of your district, because you wouldn't be a good commissioner if you didn't. So this actual program is receiving some national recognition, because there is not a rural current program put in place, but it is a problem that's being faced nationally for rural people. So we have a lot of very dedicated people in our county that are dedicated to youth and helping them, to include, well, we appointed that board, so it's, Steve Jones, Debbie Ortiz, Representative King. We have commissioners from other counties, from Santa Fe and Bernalillo County. We have the sheriff from all 3 counties. We have mayors. So it really is a good mix of local representation throughout the counties. The other factor, as far as when Pat was referring to a control group, Representative King just did tell us about some money that was going to be available for K through 3 reading supplement help. So because of that, you have to be able to establish that you can make something work. So we do have members of the Moriarty School Board on our board, the Estancia School Board, and then we have the superintendent of the Mount Airy Schools on our board as well. So this has been a discussion that we've had collectively. We didn't just pick Estancia because maybe one, I'm on the board, which it might seem that way, I'm a graduate of Estancia. But it really is centrally located, and secondly, we have received a commitment from the Estancia Elementary principal to provide us with the data and a control group to be able to say, these students in Estancia were able to participate in this and compare it to those that were not. So that was a collective decision by everybody that was on the board to include the schools. So we weren't just saying we're going to offer everything to Estancia. We said if we offer this, how can we, who is going to partner with us so we can prove when we submit the grants that it is a program that works. So that, just to briefly touch on that. You do have a bigger area, so you probably do have more maybe youth offenders or at-risk youth in your area. The only thing is that we are just like right at the threshold of such a most wonderful opportunity, and I commend you both for asking a lot of questions, but I would hope that hopefully we can have a joint meeting so that you can kind of see the vision of the board. We've been, I think you guys, did you go to Washington this year? Is that where you guys went for the Annie Casey?
No, New Jersey.
To New Jersey. So also we have a lot of buy-in from CYFD and a lot of state money, a lot of national people looking at us, and through Annie E. Casey, if we can make something work and have a proven pilot and a model, then this pilot can be taken and replicated throughout the nation to hopefully help a lot more youth. So I think maybe I haven't done a good job of bringing the vision maybe to the commission, and I would really hope that we could have a joint meeting so that you can see we're not trying to just put everything in Estancia and help Estancia youth. There has been a lot of thought as to how can we help youth in our county? How can we help the principals? And all of the principals have said this, that there is a current problem with when you put somebody on suspension, what are they doing with their time? And how can we help them to, first of all, not want to be suspended anymore, get their educational needs met while they are on that suspension, and then give them some life skills training and really intervene at that point to try and make some changes. So we also have the probation officer for this area that's going to be housed in that teen center so they can have their one-on-one help with them as well, and they don't just serve Estancia people. So I'm not particularly saying just please let it be Estancia, just please let us come to you and show you how important this is, because we can help all of the youth across our county, across Santa Fe County and Bernalillo County, if we just work together and give us a chance to show you the education that we plan to implement. And also on the K through 3, why are we doing Estancia? When you think about kindergartners through 3rd grade, they're in a classroom all day. So we want to supplement their reading help. So if we bring kids from Moriarty or Mountain Air as our pilot, they're going to be a little bit more tired than the students that are coming from Estancia because they have less of a distance to travel and less to go back home for dinner. So we took all of those things into consideration when we said, who do we pick for the K through 3 to prove that it's going to work? And the other schools were kind of like, well, you need to prove to us too that what you're doing is going to work. So there's a whole lot of thought that went into this, and planning and talking to educators. So I hope that we can set up that meeting as soon as you both are available so that we could share the big vision with you. This is not something to just benefit the Estancia youth. This is much bigger, and it's a huge, wonderful opportunity where there may be a lot of federal dollars attached to it just to be able to help the kids succeed. So just a little bit on that. And then the teen outreach program, we did try to implement that in the other school districts. We tried launching that in Mountain Air, but there are a lot less kids in Mountain Air, and so the kids that would normally go to a leadership program in Mountain Air were already in student council, they were already in basketball, they were already in all the other activities. So when we said, can you add one more activity to your list, it was like, we like your program, we can only do so much in a day. So it didn't work in Mount Air, but we tried to have it there. We wanted to have a program in Mount Air, in Moriarty, but when this money initially became available, Moriarty already had an active after-school program in place. So that's why TOP is not currently in Moriarty or in Mount Air, but we did try to have them there. TOP is still in existence in Estancia because the mayor really supports the program and provides a space and the kids come, but they provide community service throughout the county. So I understand when you say we can't get our elderly to the doctor, which I completely agree with you. I hope we can come up with something to help them. But I would ask you to please reconsider helping a program that is succeeding, where students are attending, to be able to have transportation so they're that much more successful in providing community service. Because they service the elderly, they service people affected by domestic violence, they help the town of Estancia clean their park, they go to Moriarty, they go to Mount Air. So, I would ask that you please not penalize them because the other two programs didn't work. Estancia is working and they want to go out and keep doing community service. But if it's a deal breaker for you, I understand. But I would invite you to please maybe visit the teen outreach program in Estancia because it's a program that works. It's keeping kids off the street. They're giving back every day whenever they go there. They don't just get to hang out and play video games. They actually get educated. And then after that, they are required to go back out into their community and provide community service. So it's really an excellent program, and I think they are just asking for support to help it make it become even more successful. And as far as the cost, they're willing to pay those costs, besides keeping it in the liability pool. But if that was a deal breaker, certainly if we could find the funds, maybe we could even look at that, if we need to take it on. But it's a great program, and we didn't just want Estancia to have it. We tried launching those programs in the other areas of the county. It's working in Estancia. I know the mayor's proud of it. I know that I'm very proud of what it's doing. The schools are very proud of it. And I'd like for it to continue to succeed so that when Mount Air and Moriarty say, well, prove to me that it's working, we can say, absolutely, we want to prove it to you. And this is why it's worked.
My question, Madam Chair, is if we prove the program is working, then are we willing to step up and bus everybody in Moriarty? Are we willing to step up and bus everybody in Mount Air? Are we willing to step up and bus people from Willard, all around? I have no problem with the program. I think the program is fantastic. I am just not prepared to allocate county funds and busing the kids to it. If it's that important of a program, then I believe that either the school can find a way or the parents can find a way, because I believe that this, just like I said a while ago, that this thing could explode. My question on K through 3 is, did Moriarty turn you down when you approached them on that?
I don't know, Pat, can you elaborate on that?
I will elaborate, but I would like to go back and clarify what we're dealing with here, because it seems to me that now we've got a lot of apples and oranges mixed up. We're talking about separate things. First of all, the teen outreach program has been in existence in Estancia for 4 years, and we are just now in the second half of our funding for the continuing 4-year cycle. The entire funding for that program from the state is, and there's also federal monies in that, is $25,000. It has always been allocated as the Estancia Teen Outreach Program. $25,000 is not a lot of money. It is an out-of-school program. It is not a school-based program, which is why it is operating out of the Estancia Community Center, and they've been very generous in providing that space for that program. So truthfully, expanding top to Moriarty or expanding top to Mountain Air at this juncture is not an option because there is no funding available to do that. When we first started that program, almost 5 years ago, yes, we did approach Mountain Air and we did approach Moriarty, and Commissioner Gutierrez has summed that process up. But at this point in time, and since it's been operating, it is an Estancia-based program. We are just requesting that vehicle to be able to include more of the eligible students in the Estancia school district, because that's the population served by the program. But I understand your rationale. In terms of the K through 3 program, that is again, a literacy program. It would be based on the Take Flight curriculum or a Take Flight-like curriculum. It is targeted for a pilot in Estancia because we have cooperation from the Estancia School District to establish that pilot, to get the necessary referrals from them, as well as parent referrals, and to be able to manage that so we can do the data collection that we need to do, track results, and have the control group to compare it against. It is not about establishing size initially. It is about establishing a target population in a rural area so that we can then show results. At that point in time, we could take it, if we get expanded funding, we can take it to Moriarty and Mountain Air. That program, because you're dealing with a much younger age group, we have always talked about the need that if at some point in time we can get additional funding because we've got a proven program and a proven track record, that program has to be offered in the communities that it serves. You cannot transport children that are from 5 to 8 after a full day of school for an hour or 45 minutes to get to another site, have an hour and a half of tutoring, and transport them back. It will have no useful effect. You are asking more of the child than the child is able to physically, mentally, or emotionally cope with. I mean, we want to help them, not be a deterrence. So that K through 3 program, at a time when we be able to expand it, has to be community-based. And that's the time that we'd have to work directly with Moriarty schools and with Mountain Air schools in order to do that. The other program that we have talked about, the actual juvenile justice secondary prevention program, K through 3 would be primary prevention. If kids have literacy skills and they're getting support and tutoring in K through 3, they are far less likely to end up in the juvenile justice system or in a lot of school problems when they hit the middle and high school ages. So that program is a different matter. We definitely plan from the get-go, as I said before, to be serving students from all 3 areas, young people from all 3 areas. Some of these kids may not be in school if they are on probation or if they have dropped out, but they would still be eligible for services if they're part of the juvenile justice system. So you have to, we're not looking at an entire school as a target or an entire school district as a target. We are looking at specific populations, and it's just as important that we take this slowly enough that we perfect our product, for want of a better term, with a manageable group, and we get as many service providers and community partners together and establish our networks and work out all of the kinks and make sure that we have the best opportunity, the best program, and the best method to actually serve these students. Will it evolve? Absolutely, it will evolve. And yeah, there's going to be problems. There's going to be stumbling blocks. I don't know of a single program involving at-risk youth or adults, for that matter, that you aren't constantly faced with challenges. But it is still a golden opportunity. And at this point in time, we are only talking about a vehicle. And so I would encourage you to just kind of, if you could see your way to do that, concentrate on the vehicle, and then if we could move, and I can understand why, maybe it's too soon for you to consider the vehicle, or maybe you don't want to consider the vehicle at all. But in terms of the larger program, then I think that Chairman Gutierrez raises some good points. You obviously need some additional education. Your concerns are valid. You need to be able to voice those concerns and have them responded to. So I think that there's three separate things going on here, because TOP is not a part of this other program. And TOP is a well-established existing program, so.
Well, I would like to meet because, the three programs that you've mentioned are all estancia. And I would like to see more of a county involved, since we are a county office. And so I will stay adamant that I would like the juvenile justice to be based out of Moriarty.
And I will express that to the board, but I think we need to express that to the board too. So we'll
I
get
surely
them.
will.
We'll either get you to them or them to you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have one question regarding the van. If we're essentially considering starting a transportation program for youth, then would we need to maintain the PRC permit?
You are not going to be transporting for a fee, at least not initially. And so it's not a public transportation program. So it would not require a PRC permit.
Okay.
So if you have the PRC permit, I would suggest that you.
But we either keep it up or let it lapse, and the annual report is due now. So, and the questions that the annual report asks really can't be answered because we're not operational. So that's why I'm asking.
It's a hassle to go get the PRC permit to get up and test it out, but you do not need a PRC permit to transport a special population for a special purpose at no charge.
Okay, thank you, Pat. We will now go to, does that item need to be tabled since there was no action taken?
Yes, I think you should.
Thank you. Is there a motion to table item number 9? Thank you. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.